Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, I guess it's good afternoon for everybody, even in British Columbia. My name is Dean Miller. I'm the president of Whole Health Pharmacy Partners. We've got what I think is of all the different webinars that are out there today, dealing with different things put on by different provincial associations. Probably the most unique one that we've seen to date, and I'm happy that we have a couple of frontline pharmacists that'll be joining us from Italy today. But before we get to that, I just wanted to go over a little bit of housekeeping. I am going to monitor the questions. James is going to do it as a bit of a question and answer anyways, but I'll be monitoring the questions that you have. More than likely, we'll kind of get to them towards the end, but please feel free to answer or ask questions. I will do my best to sort of put them all together and then come on near the end. Or if we have something that's really pertinent throughout the broadcast, I'll interrupt James at an appropriate time, and we'll ask the question. So without further ado, I am going to introduce my esteemed colleague and pharmacist, James Morrison. So James is going to, just like for those of you that were on our webinar on Sunday, James was sort of the moderator. I'm going to be the moderator, but James is going to be the interviewer. So with that, James, I'm going to hand it over to you. And welcome to our esteemed colleagues from Italy. So James, over to you.
Thank you, Dean. So I'd like to welcome our two speakers, Antonio and Davide, and begin with some introductions.
Hi James.
Hi.
Dean.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
So good evening. So Antonio Lombardi is a pharmacist and pharmacy owner. With his two sisters and his brother, they own Lombardi Pharmacy Group, which is a network of 6 pharmacies and a wholesale distributor near Naples. Pharmacy started with his 2 grandfathers. Both were pharmacists and was grown by his parents. Their claim is like in your family. 4 of his 6 pharmacies are in Castellammare di Stabia, and in that area there are 20 COVID cases, and so far 2 people have died from COVID-19. Like most of Italy, in this little town, everything is closed since the 9th of March, and supermarkets and pharmacies are remaining open. Davide has been a pharmacist for 10 years, just like me, and he started working in his family's pharmacy on a small tourist island in the Gulf of Naples. After 5 years, he returned to the city of Naples, which is where he grew up, and now he works in a pharmacy in a residential area in the middle of the city. The pharmacy is small. Inside there's 3 pharmacists and a warehouse worker that are employed there. Despite the size, the location is an interesting spot to have a pharmacy. It's on a busy road, and it's the main way to get to the hospitals in the city. So welcome, benvenuto.
Ciao James.
Ciao.
Ciao. So I'd like to start with, maybe we'll start with Antonio first. Can you tell me, how has life changed for you personally or professionally since COVID-19 arrived in Italy?
Yes, it's now it's very difficult because we stay along by familiar by our friends, and personally it's very difficult. We have to stay at home when we don't work, so it's difficult. And mass is professionally is very hard because we have to to have to see our patients with high anxiety. So we have to defend ourselves, our health, the health of our patients, but without to give them anxiety, more anxiety. But it's difficult because we work in a very different state before that before. So it's hard, but we try to do the better for our patients. They appreciate the presence of the pharmacists, and the pharmacies are open, and for them is very is fine to find their pharmacists always there.
It must be very comforting for your patients to have you available while everything else is closed.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, but because now hospitals are very dangerous because there are many COVID cases. So many people don't want, also with the problems, with the health problems, don't want to go to the hospitals or to their doctors to have a suggestion of to them to tell them their problems, and they come to the pharmacy. And so we have more responsibility than before, because often we have not the help of the doctors, because or they are very busy to save and to help COVID patients, or also because they are afraid, because in Italy there are many doctors they are with the COVID virus, and they are afraid. And also we pharmacists, also we as pharmacists are very afraid, because there are many cases, but we stay there for them.
Okay, Davide, do you have any other perspective to add?
Well, even for me, well, it's very hard. It's harder, especially because the amount of work is now double. At the beginning of the crisis was triple, now it's just double. And for me, it's not, it's not easy, because I'm alone. I don't see my parents since months, either my friends. So there's a lot of work, less satisfaction.
So Davide, you said your work has, first it tripled and now it's doubled. So do you find you're getting very exhausted?
Oh, I'm really exhausted. Sometimes I feel like a fever, and I'm not. And this weekend it was my turn to stay there, and I worked very hard. Sometimes we don't have any don't have the opportunity to change, to rest for us, because we know that if some of us rest, the others work more, and with empathy we prefer to stay to work every day. You told us that now I have a warehouse worker. The warehouse worker arrived just last week. Before, we did everything by ourselves. The owner of the pharmacy, for piety, I don't know, decided to help us with a warehouse worker.
Wow. So just a little introduction about timelines. So the first case of COVID we learned about back in December, and the first death in China was in January. Very soon after, COVID arrived in Canada first, before Italy, actually. So we had COVID cases here in Canada, someone returning from Wuhan back in January 25. And then on the 31st, the first cases arrived in Italy. And we know that the number of cases in Italy is far greater compared to Canada. back when I started preparing this presentation just a week and a half ago, Canada only had about 6,000 cases. And in that time, it's tripled. So now we have 18,000 cases. And we have more than 400 deaths. I know it doesn't compare to what you've seen in Italy, but it seems we're trending upwards still in Canada with more cases every day being reported. So my question for both of you, in the north of Italy, in Lombardy area, that's where COVID is really hitting the hardest. And what was it like for you each, hearing the news of the COVID cases coming out of northern Italy? So let's start with Davide.
At the beginning, I'll tell you the truth. At the beginning, I was one of those who told this is just flu. At the beginning, at the really beginning, when news arrived from China, but of course, soon I discovered that it is not just the flu. And every time that I see the news on TV, I feel much more worried. Now I didn't even reach a plateau for my worrying. It became even greater, but at much more worried for my family, for my parents, than for me, because I know that I have a strong tissue, as we say. But I'm much more worried for the seniors, indeed. And this news makes me every day more worried. But now some good news is arriving, because it seems that cases are becoming in statistics less day by day.
So that's a good sign. I hope that continues.
Yeah.
Antonio, do you have any impressions from what it was like for you or your pharmacy teams hearing the news coming out of Lombardy?
Yes, but when the COVID arrived in Lombardy, initially authorities were certain to stop, to be able to circumscribe the COVID in a little area, because they found some cases in some little towns. So they closed these little towns, and all in Italy were not so worried. But in few days, we understood that all was different. I was afraid when I knew the death in China. I was not so. I did not think that it was only a flu, because also with the deaths, the percentage of China of 2 or 3% of deaths, and I thought that in Italy usually there are 1 million, 2 million cases of flu, and I was afraid, because 2% of 1 million are many people. But now, when we understood that the COVID was very strong, and with really simply it passes from a person to another, I was very afraid. So maybe authorities in Italy were not so ready for this problem. So I hope other countries are like Canada will be ready more than Italy in the first case.
I hope so. So Antonio, in Italy, did the population take self-isolation measures seriously, or are there people who are not staying home?
But the problem is the same. Authorities in Italy told us not to be afraid. So when they understood that the problem was very, very serious, they changed every day the orders to give the people. So not all thought that it was so useful, or to stay at home, or not to go to their jobs. But now yes, now people are taking this self-isolation very seriously. Maybe you will see some photos or some videos about some towns with many people in the streets, but it's what sometimes media want to show. But I can say that it's very, very hard and very, very sad to see the towns so without any people in the streets, because we see the streets in Italy very, very full of people, and now it's very, very sad. And also because it's sad to know that now we are happy because only 500 or 400 people are dying. And it's very sad to know that we are happy for 400 people dying, because some days ago 1,000 people were dying. So it's sad. It's all very, very sad.
Davide, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd like just to give you some brief information about it. In my pharmacy, it seems that in my city, the greatest part are following the rules, following self-isolation, the quarantine. But between my customers, I've seen that those who doesn't respect the self-isolation are especially the seniors one. It's strange because they should be more, they should feel more in danger, but they are the one that they are used to their habits and they don't want to change their habits, so they go to pharmacy more times a week when it's not suggested. And sometimes I feel that they feel like they are over the rules, or sometimes I felt that in some rare case that someone maybe feels that it's not worth it anymore for his age to stay in a house for his old age. He prefer to take risk more than stay at his place.
What we're seeing in Canada still is at a lot of parks and places, people are still going out when they should be staying home. So it's very concerning. In Canada, going back just a couple of weeks ago, we were already seeing a lot of shortages of important products. So including like hand sanitizers and thermometers, things that we needed. And we were having still difficulty getting supply for a lot of these products. Some of our pharmacies began making these products, making hand sanitizers to provide to their patients. Even, I don't know if you saw something like this in Italy, but we had shortages of toilet papers. Everyone was clearing out all of the shelves. So I'm wondering, in your country, in Italy, did you have any shortages of important medical supplies? And also, did you see businesses raising prices and taking advantage of the situation for their profits? Davide, let's start with you.
Well, at the beginning of the crisis in February, I told you that the work was triple, especially because people were starting to stockpiling devices, sanitizer, medicines, protective masks, especially protective masks. There was a big trend about it. Even a hand sanitizer. So in just 3 days, we run out of our stockings. Even if we have very big stocking, especially alcohol stocking, we have had a big alcohol stockings for sanitizing surfaces. It ran out, and we end all, and it was impossible to have again from our sellers. And actually, in some way, we necessarily take advantage, but not in the meaning that we make fraud profit of the sales. It happened that our income became bigger and bigger because we in some days we end everything. So not maybe take advantage is it's not the right expression, but for sure we had much more earnings in that period. Even now the earnings is still high, not like the beginning. But for example, when we sell protective masks, we sell at the FFP2 at 15 euros. It's a high price. Maybe compared to Canadian dollars, it's like 20 Canadian dollars each one. But it's not because we take advantage. It's because we pay it very high. The dose that we sell at 14 euros, we pay 11 euros plus taxes. So as I've heard on the papers, it seems that we earn on each mask, say, 1 euro, 2 euros.
Yeah, so it sounds like your source to procure the mask, where you're buying the mask from, in the supply chain, the prices are inflated.
Yeah.
Antonio, have you seen any similar shortages of supplies?
Not for medicines, but only for goods that are strictly and directly with the COVID. Because but the very problem now is that all the deliveries are very slower than before. So we have problems to supply some pulse oximeter. You see in your photo, pulse oximeter. Maybe I sold so very free 4 in a year of a pulse oximeter. Maybe the mass of people didn't know what is, but now it's very important to recognize the COVID in the first time, the first days of the infection. So all want to have one at home, and now it's very difficult to supply. And the same is for the masks. Also before are goods that usually we don't sell in the pharmacies as large numbers. So right. we had not large stock, and we don't know where to buy. But for medicines, no. But just one. But we will say about it later. But just one medicine is difficult to find now.
Right. But we'll talk about that later. You're right. So Davide, I think it was you who told me the story about a patient who was at home and they were testing their oxygen level with a pulse oximeter, and they were feeling well, but they noticed their oxygen level was falling.
No, it's Antonio that told you. It's Antonio that told you. Sorry.
Can you tell us about that, Antonio?
Yes, James. Yes, but it's this flu, this COVID flu, looks like a flu. Last time mass of the infection is like a flu. You have high fever, and maybe in few days you can stay better. You can feel better. And the husband of a pharmacist, my friend, was better. He had high fever, also 39. But after 2 days, he was he felt better. But a strange thing, because the chemist, the pharmacist, my friend, heard that the voice of her husband was different, the voice, and she was afraid about this. And she had the pulse oximeter, and she measured, and she could operate that the PO2 was 90. Usually is 99, 98 in young people. So she brought him to an hospital, and he feels the patient feels well. But you say very no, you don't say well. You had a large problem to the 6. So he stayed in the hospital, and 4 days with antiviral medicines, and now he stays well. But maybe if she did not she had at the pulse oximeter, use a pulse oximeter, it's not maybe it should not be the same.
Well, that's a great story. If they may not have survived without the checking.
Yes, but maybe in pharmacy it's difficult to have, because there are is a doctor practice. Maybe we could save some people also measuring only the PO2 with the pulse oximeter in the pharmacies. When you think to stay well, but you had high fever, you can measure the PO2, and you can save somebody. But
Right.
it's difficult because people have to stay at home when they have a fever. So doctors should go, but not always. Then no, they don't always go. So it's a problem. It's a problem because we have no pulse oximeter cell now in all Italy.
None in all of Italy. Goodness. Yeah. And as you were saying, doctors are hard to find now with everyone in quarantine. So here in Canada and North America, we had the President of the United States doing press conferences and sharing on Twitter about his miracle cure for COVID, hydroxychloroquine. And after that happened, in Canada, there were some patients who were having difficulty filling their prescriptions that they needed to treat lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, because certain doctors or patients were getting prescriptions for hydroxychloroquine in order to prevent or to treat COVID. And because of that, we had certain regulators for medicine and for nursing making statements that we should be being careful about that, because there was not much evidence at the time to support it. And I heard from both of you in Italy some interesting stories about how you are actually, it seems to me that you have confidence in hydroxychloroquine and helping patients with COVID, but at the same time, you're seeing shortages in the pharmacies. So Davide, can you maybe tell me about your experience with off-label prescribing or drug shortages with hydroxychloroquine?
Yeah. Actually, now Plaquenil, hydroxychloroquine are almost impossible to find on the market. And it's so often that it's prescribed. Often we receive prescription about it. And it's not possible to find it anyway. For the past times, I had five or four people that used the hydroxychloroquine Plaquenil for their lupus or for their arthritis rheumatoid, but now they are without, and they are trying a way to find a different therapy. But their doctors are trying to. Some has moved to the biologic therapy. Some of them for the arthritis rheumatoid. And about Offlabel, here in Naples, here in Italy, there is this Dr. Ascione, that is working with Ascelto, sì, sorry. This promising therapy with a biologic medicine called tocilizumab. It comes from antibiotics. And this medicine, in the latter stages of pulmonitis caused by COVID-19, it seems that has a high efficacy because it stops the inflammation that consume the organs. So organs have the time to recover even during the infection. Because one of the breathing issues that caused the COVID, this virus, depends by this consumption of the organs, by the inflammation. And so it came from a little intuition, and now it's experimented on the whole country and in some other countries. The medicine is tocilizumab. I don't know how to pronounce it in English. Sorry.
Those biologic names are hard to pronounce for everyone, Davide.
Yeah.
Antonio,
Yes.
do you have anything to add?
Luckily, we have in our pharmacies the hydroxychloroquine. We were able to supply, but there is a high consumption of or a shortage at home of hydroxychloroquine. Today Sanofi is I don't know if also in Canada, Sanofi is the largest producer of hydroxychloroquine. With in Italy, is a Plaquenil is a trademark, and they wrote in an article that they in March they sold twice the quantity of hydroxychloroquine than before, and now they have requests for 10 times the answer of before COVID, and this is not reasonable. Also with the many infections in Italy, so there are all the mass are shortages of the people, and this is our role. The role of a pharmacist is telling people not to use hydroxychloroquine like an aspirin or like a paracetamol, because it's not so. In France, for this reason, there were some deaths for overdose of hydroxychloroquine, because it's a strong drug, a strong medicine, and so we sell with the recipe. We have to sell with the recipe the hydroxychloroquine in pharmacy, but the problem is that people have the recipe. And
Right.
so maybe doctors sometimes don't want to explain always people when they have not to prescribe. So is the role of the pharmacist also sometimes to explain when the doctors don't work so fine, and it's better because we have another skill is to go against media, because if people see in the TV that Trump tells that hydroxychloroquine is the panacea. I don't know if in English panacea for the COVID, people won't use. And our role is to explain that is not so easy to beat the COVID.
Like this.
Yeah, very good. So in Canada, in response to COVID, pharmacies are making a lot of changes in terms of their physical layouts, putting up barriers or changing policies, limiting how many customers or patients can come into the store, or screening patients at the door, asking questions about if they traveled recently and their symptoms, if they have symptoms. I know that Antonio, you shared this picture from one of your pharmacies. Antonio's the cool guy with the glasses, sunglasses, showing us the protective barriers that you received from Sartoretto Verna, which is a pharmacy design company. We have similar plastic barriers that we've been providing to pharmacies here in Canada. Were there any additional changes you made to your pharmacies to keep your patients and your employees safe? Or did you have any trouble staying open to the public? Davide, let's start with you.
Well, indeed, we made the change. As Antonio, we put on the counter some plexiglass to shield us, but it arrived only last week. Meanwhile, we wear protective mask and gloves. Actually, somehow we changed the hours of working. Well, to working with open door. During the day, the city is almost empty. So when it comes the evening and the night and the dark, the city sometimes it's scary, it's creepy, it's scary. So I work with two female pharmacists, and so together we decided that we after 16, after 6 p.m. we work with the closed door. As I told you last days, with night counter. So even if it's harder for us to work at the door because we have to move more with the prescription, with the phone, with the laser tag, for our safety, we prefer like this. Even, at least when it's when it's shady, when it's dark. Maybe with the coming with all this with the entering the spring, there will be more light when we move the time that we work with the closed door. Indeed, of course, people came with masks, came with gloves. It's hard to say if they want to rob us or ask for medicine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Davide, for the audience, night counter. I know you explained to me, it's a window for patients to come to the pharmacy and to receive their prescriptions and to pass in their prescription document while the pharmacy is closed. In most regions, there's a pharmacy with a night counter, so patients can still access medications after regular hours.
Yeah.
That's correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it's correct. It's correct. We slip under the glass. We slip the medicine and receive the papers. It's not easy, but we are safe. We're safe from the droplet, and we're safe from bad people.
Okay. And Antonio, did you have any comments about changes to your pharmacies?
Oh yes, because we stay always with the open doors. We want to receive our patients like every day, like before COVID, because it's beautiful to know that you can go in the pharmacy. But we live to come inside only the people when in the number of the employees free. So we have 3 or 4 desks, and I am at maximum of 3 or 4 patients can enter. But they understand. They understand that it is for their health. So they wait outside with their number. Maybe I will make like a day. I will make like I don't know, the Starbucks, and I will call them with the name, but now with the number. So and they wait the time to come in. But we have the shield of Sartoretto Verna are more beautiful than some you showed before.
Yes.
This is very beautiful. And we have the masks, we have gloves, and sanitize the pharmacy more times a day with the alcohol, with peroxide water, and with candegina, I don't know, amoquin. You know, and we buy also an ozonizator. I didn't know many goods I buy in these weeks, and this is something as an instrument to sanitize the ambient in the night and also in the day, when the people is inside the pharmacy. And we stay. The best is to stay with a smile. Also only with eyes we can smile. We are trying to smile only with eyes, and maybe we will write a smile on our masks. Maybe
that would be nice. Here in Canada, pharmacists have been feeling unrecognized and left out when it comes to receiving equipment to protect ourselves. So a number of pharmacies have been speaking up that they can't get gloves or masks, and they wish that the government would recognize the essential role that pharmacies are providing in staying open, and that we need to take steps to keep our employees and our pharmacy teams healthy so that we can continue to provide services. So I know, Antonio, you shared a story about procuring masks from China. Maybe you can share that with our audience about how difficult it was for you to get masks for your pharmacy team.
Yes. The problem is that in the like as Davide said before, we now in the first time we bought the masks at very, very expensive prices, and we were obligated. I don't know. We had to sell at expensive prices because we buy. And the problem was there were two possibilities, or not to sell masks, people, just not to be to look like who want to profit, to take a business from the masks, or to risk. And I decided to risk because I found a China's industry, and also if I knew that there were in Italy many bad businesses, because many pharmacists tried to buy in China, and only they sent their money, but they never received the masks. But I risked, and now I can sell masks at a reasonable price, not like before COVID, but a reasonable price, and a reasonable price. And I give a service. I think to give a service. Also, my risk is a service for the people, because I did not want to say, like in the first days, every people who scared asked us for a mask to not to don't have, and it is because pharmacists, we as pharmacists usually always give what the patients want to stay better, and the masks is one of that, one of those.
James,
Okay.
James,
Yes,
I'm going to interrupt for a sec, because on personal protective equipment, we've got a couple of questions around government support, and on a local level or on a federal level. Was there any around and really did the associations and things like that in Italy work hard to try and procure those that essential equipment for pharmacists?
So the question,
the pharmacy association asked for masks and for gloves and for eye protection. They asked, but it's difficult to find, and there was a war in Europe. There was a war for some days about the masks. Some masks bought from our government from China were stopped in other countries, in Europe countries, when the flight of the carriers stopped in the countries. They took the mask for their for their use. And so we as pharmacists had to find but we cannot give to be too sad with our association, because they tried, but it was very difficult to find. But I just a suggestion, James, if I can. If you show me because now I am an expert about the masks. If you show me the photo before, the photo, the diapositive before this is there is just for other pharmacists in Canada. There are two kind of masks. This is the surgical mask.
yes.
This is and with this mask you can you don't give who dresses this kind of mask doesn't give virus COVID to other people, but you are not protected, so you have to dress another kind of mask, like David told us, is FFP2, or in USA or in Canada maybe is N95. is another kind of mask that is is buff. You are safe from the others, and you don't give virus to other people. So maybe for pharmacists, especially if they don't have the shield, they have to dress another kind of mask, not that.
That's interesting. Here in Canada, the messaging from all of our health advisory groups from government is that we should only be wearing surgical masks unless you're working on a procedure with a patient that has COVID that might put particles into the air. So it's different messaging we're getting here in Canada.
Maybe because surgical masks masks are good if all people dress. If all people dress is good, but if you receive a patient that without mask and he has flu, you with the surgical mask you are not protected.
Okay, so let's go to the next question here. So in Canada, we've seen the pharmacist responsibilities and services changing in different provinces. So for example, in Alberta, pharmacists there, they have the ability now to screen patients over the phone or for to check if the patient might have COVID symptoms or to answer questions about COVID for patients. And the pharmacy actually gets paid a fee for that service. And in British Columbia, pharmacists there have been encouraged to refill prescriptions for patients when the doctors are not available to do so. But at the same time, there's been some conflict between doctors and pharmacists about that service. So can you tell me about any changes to pharmacy services or responsibilities in Italy? Let's start with Davide.
Well, I've heard that actually pharmacists are fulfilling prescription instead of doctors to continue the therapy. Okay, in Italy it's still not possible, but the government give us the opportunity to receive prescription online by reading a number code, plus we have to check an identity card of the person that those prescribes the medicine. So doctors can send prescription through emails or even by message through instant messaging, and we can read these codes. And this is a change because before we really needed the prescription on a paper. Even if the prescription on the paper was how they say no material, in the meaning that everything works online. Now the paper is not anymore necessary for the customers. It's just necessary the code and the identity card number, the fiscal code number. For us, for me, in my opinion, is not so good because doctors, because for us there are a lot more responsibilities and there's much more time that we spend over our customers, because often the customers doesn't understand well the system of the code. Sometimes they bring half code, sometimes they bring the code without their documents there. So it's we can open these receipts by a system with the three value. We insert two codes and the fiscal code. Without the fiscal code, we cannot open the prescription. So if the customer doesn't bring the identity card with the fiscal code, we cannot open the prescription. So sometimes it's a mess because the customer doesn't understand, and we lose so many times, and the queue becomes longer and longer outside the pharmacy.
Right. Wow,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated.
And in many parts of Canada, the pharmacists can refill prescriptions that patients have already been taking. So you can't do that in Italy. So what happens if you can't find the doctor?
It's their duty. It's their duty to find the doctor. They contact him. They can contact him by phone, by email. It's their duty to do it, but it's not our responsibility to make prescription to the customers. There can be, in Italy we say, interest confliction of personal advantage. I can translate personal advantage in prescribing by ourselves the medicine to our customer.
Right, conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, sorry.
Yeah. Right. Antonio, you told me the other day about a program with the Red Cross where pharmacies are working with Red Cross to deliver prescriptions to people in isolation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. It's the Pharmacists Association, the national Italian Pharmacy Association, made this contract, or I don't know, because it's not a business, with Red Cross in Italy to serve people in quarantine, or their parents that they cannot go out from their house, also to come with to the pharmacy, or all the people. So there is a free number to call, and they choose the favorite pharmacy where to take the medicines, and is a good, is useful. Is full of also we our pharmacies implemented a system to the door-to-door for the medicines, also for young people who don't want to go out from their house and they cannot use the Red Cross service. And we try to help. We try to help all people, also young people. So maybe now in Italy there is it's a strong smart working. So there are many people many people who work at home, also because many business or many industries in Italy are closed now. Only only for health or for food are open, but many people work at home, and they cannot go out from their house so simply. All the schools are closed, so fathers and mothers have their children at home, so it's difficult, and they cannot go out with the children in the streets because it's not so sure it's dangerous to go out with the children. So we serve them, bringing medicines at home, and it's another occasion for the pharmacist to be close to the people, also in this occasion. And just for the words of Davide before, because just because maybe not all pharmacists in Canada know that in Italy people don't have to buy the medicines, because they have the medicines for free.
Oh, I see. Okay, so
I don't know if you knew, but in Italy we have not like Canada. We have the insurance, the health insurance. we have the national health system that give the medicines for free at the people. So it's not the problem is not only for the prescription like for you. For us is also a business problem, because the people without the control of the doctors should take a quantity unuseful of medicines.
Okay, so Antonia, Davide, we're already over 1 hour. So for the next questions, let's keep the answers short so we can get you through the night and you can get to bed. So here in Canada, we're already having cases where pharmacy employees are becoming sick with COVID from coast to coast across the whole country. There's been reports in the news where pharmacy employees are catching the virus. And I know in Italy, unfortunately, some pharmacists have lost their life to COVID.
7.
7. Oh, so it's
died.
It's very sad to see these pharmacy heroes lose their life trying to take care of their patients. I'm wondering, Davide, you mentioned before you might have had COVID infection.
Actually, on the at the beginning of the infection, I had a very high fever with cough and trembling, shaking. I stayed in bed for a week, but at the beginning, for having the test was very hard. There were needed three criteria, epidemic criteria. You should have high fever and tooth, and be in touch with someone from the northern Italy, from abroad, and having breathing issue. So at the beginning, so when I had this kind of flu, this viral flu for sure, I fulfilled just one of the criteria, so not the others. So it was not possible for me to be tested.
I see. And Antonio, have you had employees at any of your 6 pharmacies catch the virus you know of?
No, lucky.
Oh, good.
Our employees no, but we were for now. Still now we were lucky, because there are many our patients with the COVID.
There's
had the COVID, so we were lucky, because it's a very infectious virus. So we only were lucky. I'd like to say that we were very good, a good job, but I want to think that we were lucky, because the pharmacists who are died were not less accurate than us. Maybe they were only unlucky.
There's a question on the Facebook. Are there tests available to check pharmacy employees for COVID?
It's a great question, because did you ask me if there is a test in pharmacy for the COVID?
To check employees if they have COVID.
No, allora we are not checked, but we in the first days of March, we tried to buy some tests in the pharmacy to sell to the doctors, only to sell to the doctors or hospitals or private hospitals or industries that with the doctor wanted to test their employees or their workers. But now Italian government stopped this kind of selling.
Okay.
And So we have in Italy we have to wait when we stay. We are very sick to before to have to be tested. So it's a problem now in Italy. This because there are two kinds. I don't know if in Canada there are two kinds of tests for COVID. One is RNA test, and is with a tampon in the nose.
Right, a swab.
In the nose, yes. But there are many in China. They sell many kind of tests on the blood, and diabetes, like glycemia, the sugar test for the blood, and it's very easy to do, and it's also not so expensive. But in Italy is not so, it is not possible now to sell. But
okay. So next question. At Whole Health, we do a lot of work with mental health. So can you tell me, Davide, in your pharmacy, I know you have a small pharmacy team, but is there anything you're doing to help with anxiety or stress for mental health?
Actually, we try to support each others. We know that, but not with medicines. We'd like to avoid medicine. We'd like to do not reach the point that we will need the medicines for anxiety. We are supporting each other. We act with empathy. We know that we are on the same boat. We know that my absence is it's a load of work for my workmate. So we try to be one for the others. You support.
Antonio, right. Antonio, how about you in your pharmacies?
It's hard because we are in our pharmacies we are 30 people, and also we are in different pharmacies. We usually had some dinner all together, or in some formation all together, just to see one another, and like in a family. We are like in a family, and now we are closed in each pharmacy to less the problem of infection from a pharmacy to another. The people who work in a pharmacy don't go to other pharmacies, or we have no other occasions to see, and we try to stay with a high with the smile, and also because if we are sad, maybe we can grow the anxiety also in our patients. So we try to stay happy like other days, only with the mask.
Happy but with a mask. That's nice. So I want to ask you each, what do you think is the greatest role, the greatest impact your pharmacy has had during this pandemic? Let's start with you, Antonio.
Yes, James, it's the role of the pharmacy is very important. It's very important because now all is closed. I told you, hospitals are dangerous now. Doctors are closed. The most of doctors are closed for little sick or little problems. They don't receive the patients. So it's important. And also, I don't know if you or what do you think about the e-commerce of the drugs, of the medicines, but it's important to find a house because the pharmacy now is like an house for the people. They are. It is difficult to, always also to go to the church in Italy now, and to find the pharmacy is important for people. And I think that they are understanding. Also, if some people think that we are we are richer because we sell some masks, but it's not so. It's not so. Business is not better now. It's not better now. The people come in the pharmacies also only to buy all what they need for their health.
Right.
Maybe they don't think other things we suggest usually in pharmacy. It's the reason because we have a beautiful pharmacy, but now the must is to give a service. We
Right.
don't think about business. We all only think about service to the people.
What I'm hearing is just being one of the last services available to patients when everyone else is closed is really of great importance. And Davide, did you have anything to add about the role of pharmacy?
Yeah, I will be brief. I will be very brief. The government told to people on TV to avoid hospital, avoid doctors. So as Antonio told, we are the last wall.
So I'm going to ask you for some final advice. You both have more experience with COVID than we have here in Canada in terms of number of cases, number of people that are sick with the virus in your communities. So what is your final piece of advice to pharmacists here in Canada as we prepare for more cases of COVID? Let's start with you, Antonio.
The pharmacists have to make the people know that their life will change for sometimes, for some months. Maybe we will have a life different, very different. They will appreciate what usually is so simple to have, like to go to their friends, but to be to have the hope that now all the countries unlucky cause due to the problems in Italy know that this is a strong virus, and maybe all the governments now are ready to challenge this COVID.
Davide, did you have anything to add?
Yes, just a few things. Well, it's hard to suggest something because every situation is different, every country is different. But I think that this situation will last a little bit more than we would like. I think that this massive pandemic for example, on after 11 September, we changed our way of traveling, and the change is permanent. I think that this pandemic will change this way, the way of we behave or we feel our neighbors. Talking about local and even talking about state to state. And I think that this change will remain, or at least will last long time. And I think that we have to be ready and accept the change. Be resilient in my suggestion.
Okay, so it sounds like changes happening now might be some of it permanent for our societies. Yeah. So before we close out, Dean, did you have any questions from the?
There's a few that have come in, James. So I'm going to try and maybe group a couple of them together. One was an interesting one about here in Canada. We've got the concept of storage lockers and things for collection of groceries. But is there any system like that in Italy where patient receives a code to perhaps access their medication from a locker, so you don't have, the face-to-face interaction with a patient, much like you see at, Walmart is doing it here now, and some of our major grocery stores as well. So just a question about whether that type of system exists in Italy.
Well, actually, in Italy, medicine are still sold in the pharmacies. Some other medicines, we can say over-the-counters one, that can be even sold in some. We cannot say groceries. We can say that big market can have a corner where you can buy this over-the-counter medicine, but it's in a corner, and there is always the pharmacist in the corner. So when you buy things with the prescription and buy a medicine with the code, it's necessary to go to the pharmacy and not anywhere else.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, but the problem.
Antonio, did you have a comment?
No, the problem is that we have strongly to make the people know that also aspirin can be dangerous, and only the pharmacist can tell them this thing. So I don't think that automatic counter can give the same information than the pharmacist. So maybe it should be an idea for the night, or when it is impossible to have a suggestion from the pharmacist. But I don't like.
Okay. Another question, and again, I'm going to try and group these together. One is about on the topic of drug shortages, on whether you experienced anything with inhalers like we did here in Canada. And the second part of the question is, did the government make any precautions to protect the drug supply? So here in Canada right now, we typically fill prescriptions for a 3-month supply, but we've been asked to fill only a 30-day supply. So that's one part of it. And then the second part is about the availability or shortage of inhalers.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Go on, Tony.
Now, for the second part, you can see the question on two sides, because government in Italy tried to take the people at home. So they tried to make shortages at home to the people, so they have not to go out always. They tried to stop the shortages of unuseful medicines like hydroxychloroquine or other kind of medicines, but the first problem was to not to stop to take the people at home. Before COVID, doctors in Italy could prescribe 1 month only. Now they can prescribe 2 months. The shortage for 2 months. Okay. But because the challenge was to don't give the people the reason to go out from their house. And the dealers, but the problems came not from the dealers, but from the carriers, the mask. Mask problems came from them because dealers usually are make their orders to have a little shortage for the financial problem. So they have little shortage and buy often. Now they cannot do this because the shipments are very slow. So after some days of delay of the shipments of the medicines, now there are not so much problems.
Okay, Dean, do you have any very important questions, or should we?
It would probably, the last one was just, you had mentioned about the use of Plaquenil in treatment. Is that, was there any positive, or did you hear of any positive results with patients using Plaquenil on a trial basis?
Actually, it's a protocol. In Italy, the protocol is well, it depends about the stage of the infection. But the protocol says Plaquenil and azithromycin. And it seems that Plaquenil in some way, hydrochloroquine in some way not very clear, has a good impact on the infection. But it must be suggested at the right stage, not too early and not too later.
The problem now, Dean, is that medicines trials have certain stages. So to know if Plaquenil or hydroxychloroquine is good, you have to study with attention if the people are sick, if they have COVID, how many pills of Plaquenil, how many days. Now it is difficult. They are trying to know if is so useful, but there are many doctors that are using without many attention. So we hope so. We hope hydroxychloroquine is good for the COVID.
All right, James, and the last one. Somebody asked, what about the toilet paper?
Oh, we have a match. If you want, we can sell you. If you have.
Did you find toilet paper is protective towards COVID? Because we think it might be in Canada.
Yes, protect. Maybe I don't know if also in Canada or only in United States. Maybe they want to buy to make like mommy in Egypt.
Okay, that's a very good way to end. I want to say, Antonio, Davide, working with you on this webinar, it's been a pleasure. You're all the way along. You've both been very nice to work with. And I want to say arrivederci to you both.
Thank you.
We'll make you honorary Canadians.
Oh, yeah. When COVID stops.
Thank you. Arrivederci. Thank you.
James,
Thank you.
pleasure to meet you. Bye.
Good night, gentlemen. Thank you.
Good night.